We start with a case that's chilling. Somewhere, probably in the English Midlands, there's a killer on the loose. And someone must know who he is. The police and a grieving family need your help. As you're about to see, the nature of the killing leads to the fear that he might well strike again. It's a macabre story made even more bizarre by this letter that was sent to the police by a man who claims to be the murderer. Do you recognise the style? It may have been written with a ruler and a mapping pen, and look in particular at those peculiar S's that are written in the form of exclamation marks. It's a bit like some computer shorthand. Now, the letter could be a decoy, it could be a hoax, but if you know who wrote it, you could save someone's life. In the reconstruction that follows, every detail is as exact as we can make it. The real locations and the actual vehicle the killer drove. The outskirts of the village of Keyworth, near Nottingham, on Halloween last year, Monday, October the 31st. At 9 o'clock in the morning, a body was found by a passer-by. A young girl had been strangled and raped with particular brutality. Colette Aram, a trainee hairdresser, was 16 years old. The previous evening, she'd set out to walk to the home of her boyfriend. She never got there. This bizarre letter was received by the police 2 weeks later. The details in it suggest it's genuine and possibly written by someone with local knowledge.
Is somebody protecting this man?
Superintendent Bob Davey heads the inquiry team. Today, 7 months and 2,000 statements later, they still haven't found the killer. And without your help, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. A man who's white, aged roughly 25 to 35, with probably brown, wavy hair.
So what the hell do we know about him? He's not going to sit in his house with the word murderer written across his chest or across his back, is he? He's got some sort of sexual hang-up. He likes young kids. It's not going to be ever so obvious when you go through the door. But talk to the people, talk to the wives. Let's find him, because he's about somewhere. Colette's left in a field, don't forget that. We're dealing with a savage killing. Let's sniff him out and let's see if we can find him.
The police have built up a picture of the killer's movements from the letter and from corroborating evidence. It starts at a riding stables 5 miles from Keyworth.
I was in a hut for hours waiting for a girl to return from horse riding. No one saw me.
Yet the police are almost certain that the killer hid here while girls were riding near the hut. There are forensic clues, in particular a rag stained with human semen. And at about 4:30, something happened here that was to set off a fateful chain of events.
When the car came with keys, I could not help take it.
The next time the stolen red Fiesta was definitely sighted was shortly after 5 on an estate in Keyworth. The witness, a local resident, noted that the car was probably parked there for about an hour, and they were able to give a description of the driver. Did he visit a friend? Or if he actually lives locally, did he simply go home for tea? Then, early on that Sunday evening, in the hour between 6:20 and 7:20, the suspect is known to have cruised the neighbourhood, trying to pick up young girls. One of them had a very close encounter.
She's exercising the dog at the time. He stops and he makes some pretense of asking her the way to Walls Drive. Now that was clearly a bit of a ruse on his part, because Walls Drive in actual fact was only 50 yards away and he'd probably just passed it.
Yeah, look, come here. Can you tell me where Wolds Drive is, please?
You've just come out of it.
Oh yeah. Well, where are you going anyway?
Nowhere?
Do you want a lift?
No.
Oh, come on, it's warm in here, it's dry. I'll take wherever you want to go.
No thanks.
Well, what are you scared of? I'm not going to bite you. Come on. Come on, where do you want to go? I'll take you.
No.
This cruising is the kind of habit that he may well be repeating in other parts of the country. Has anyone tried to pick you up in this way?
No one knows what I look like. That is why you have not got me.
In fact, they do have various descriptions. He was seen yet again at about 8 o'clock by another important and a particularly observant witness.
Yeah. I'm just going to see some mates around there. Won't be long.
When he left the car there, he walked around the corner and then he came back and he made some comment about somebody not being in, as if it was a reference to having visited some house. Well, he couldn't have done that, because in actual fact there was no houses in that vicinity.
The witness's suspicions were already aroused when he noticed what was being carried.
Oh, yeah.
No one knows what the knife was used for, but the witness prudently took a note of the car's registration number. Colette Aram took her last walk up this hill. She left home at 8 o'clock on her way to see her boyfriend just 20 minutes away. What happened then must be speculation. But one further witness, a local resident, did provide a vital piece of information.
I know I strangled her. When a car passed, she would have got me caught. But she was not dead when I left her. Maybe the cold killed her. Cars passed when we were there. I thought she would be all right.
We're talking about Colette probably being abducted and murdered at about 8:15 on that Sunday night. At 9 o'clock that night, there's a man of the description of the man we're looking for, goes into the Generous Britain pub at Costock.
What can I get you?
A pint of orange lemonade, please. And can I have one of those cobs as well?
If we accept it's the man that went in the pub, and I think we do, is a man that, if you remember, he drank a pint of orange and lemon. Now that's an unusual drink. It is in our circles. We're pints of bitter men.
Ham, he said. Ham.
Yes, please, yeah.
On holiday, are you?
No, actually, I took the wrong turning off the motorway. No, actually, I've come up to visit a friend who lives in Barton.
Oh, 91p, please.
His stories prove to be false, but they do suggest a degree of local knowledge.
He works in the power station, but he's had a bit of an accident, so I was going to visit him in hospital. Thanks.
Oh, they've gone. Excuse me.
Where's the toilet?
Oh, just back there.
We searched and we checked in the toilets and we took possession of some of the tissues. One of the tissues was sent, in fact, all of them were sent off to the forensic, and they found signs of blood and also human semen.
I go soon, and then you will never get me.
Well, the man who's determined to get him, who's in charge of the case, is Detective Superintendent Bob Davey. First of all, Superintendent, how much credence do you put in this weird letter?
Well, one's got to be open-minded about letters like this from previous experiences we've had. But there are certain aspects of this letter which make us think that it probably is genuine. That is from the man who murdered Colette.
Now, what about the description of the killer? Obviously, the man we used was an actor, and people mustn't think too much about that description. How much do we know about the killer?
Well, I shouldn't want that to mislead people, but we're looking for someone 25 to 35 years, of average height, probably light brown hair, and we know from a number of witnesses that he was wearing this brown suede or imitation suede three-quarter length coat.
Was he clean-shaven, or did he have a bit... Well, of course, he could grow a beard or cut one off since. Do we know?
Well, that's right. And in fact, a number of witnesses in this case have given varying descriptions. But we want to be open-minded about this, and we feel that at this stage he's probably clean-shaven.
And do you think that somebody out there knows or might know who the killer is? Might have a good suspicion?
Well, we think so. We think that the man's got local knowledge. We think he probably lived locally at that time. And we're looking for someone who was away from his home between 4:30 that day when the car was stolen and until about 10 o'clock that night when we know the car was brought back or was seen coming back into Keyworth.
Now, this horrible behaviour that we saw, the cruising around, trying to pick up young girls, he might presumably be doing that somewhere else.
Well, this is a possibility. In fact, this is quite a likely possibility, bearing in mind his behaviour on this night. I mean, we've evidence from witnesses that, in fact, he was following young girls and cruising the area. I would think that behaviour is probably still continuing.
So, if this happens to any other young girls, you want them to report it, wherever it is they live?
Oh, yes. If anyone's been approached in this way or seen anyone behaving in this manner, if they let us know, we'd be grateful.
Is there anything else that we should know? Have you had any other information?
Well, we've had a lot of information on the case, but there's a woman that rang in. She rang the local evening newspaper, and she rang one of our police stations. She was distressed. She was anonymous. She said that she knew who had murdered Colette, and then she broke down and she put the phone down on both occasions.
She knew who the murderer was, and she hasn't rung back?
Well, this is what she said. It may be, of course, that she doesn't know, but she thinks she knows. We'd like that woman to come forward and contact us again. We'll treat whatever she says in confidence.
Right, so you want her to ring in at anybody who thinks that they have suspicions about somebody who might have been in the area at the time, and the description is a fairly broad one.
Yes,
somebody between their mid-20s and their mid-30s.
That's right, and I certainly wouldn't want people to take too much notice of the actor or the descriptions that we've shown.
Right, Superintendent, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
The number to ring is 01 811 8055. If you think you can help in any way, and especially if you think you know who did it, please call now. Don't let what happened to Colette happen to someone else. You can talk openly or in absolute confidence, if you want, to the officers on the case. If you prefer, you can talk to a researcher from the programme. 01 811 8055. Or you can, if you want, call any time to the incident room at Bingham in Nottinghamshire. 0949 38282. Bingham 38282. Now, tonight, the police need your help to solve the murder of Caroline Osborne. As always, this is the number to ring if you can help. We'll be showing this and local numbers throughout the programme.
At the time of her death, Caroline was 33 and running a successful small business near Leicester. It's now almost exactly a year since she was killed, but still the police don't know certain crucial details of her life or about what happened. What follows now is a reconstruction based on the evidence there is of Caroline's last hours. At 6 o'clock on the evening of Friday, July the 29th last year, Caroline Osborne had finished work and returned home to 107 Danvers Road off the Narborough Road in Leicester.
There you go, Tammy. You're on now.
Caroline ran a small business, clipping and grooming dogs. She had over 700 customers, so she was quite a well-known figure in the area, collecting and delivering her clients' pets.
Don't worry, Tammy. We'll go for a walk soon, yeah? Yeah. There you go.
People who knew her say she was a quiet person, and there was really only one subject she loved to talk about, and that was dogs. Caroline loved all animals. She'd had the holiday of a lifetime in November in 1982. These snaps were taken on safari in Kenya with her friend. Caroline enjoyed the country so much that she decided she wanted to live there. So, shortly after returning home, she advertised her house and business for sale. And then, without telling anyone, took herself to a local aero club and started a course of flying lessons. She felt that Kenya was a place where she'd need to be able to fly. It was about 6:30 when a neighbour saw Caroline setting off from the back of the shop to exercise 2 dogs. An eyewitness reports seeing her minutes later taking the path towards Aylstone Meadows, her usual route for walking her black Labrador and her neighbour's white dog, Tammy. And here was the last definite sighting of Caroline Osborne. Aylstone Meadows is a strange mixture of public park, river and canal, and industrial buildings. It's a popular area for local children to play on, and there's a busy section of the Grand Union Canal with its locks and towpath. This footbridge was part of her usual walk. But there are some aspects of Caroline's life and business which still puzzle the police. For example, her van was a white Ford Escort. But more than 80 different witnesses recall seeing Caroline using a blue van to collect and deliver dogs at customers' houses and to take dogs for walks at a nearby park. The van didn't belong to Caroline, the precise make is not known, and neither the van nor its owner have ever been traced. Another few minutes' walk, and Caroline would have passed St Mary's Mills Lock. She was a private sort of person. There were some men in her life who even her closest friends didn't know. Some the police haven't yet traced. In March 1983, one of Caroline's customers collecting her dog from the shop saw someone else there. He seemed quite at home and remarked on the fact that they were all wearing blue clothes. The man's trainers and tracksuit trousers and his t-shirt were all dark blue. He wore a silver bracelet and digital watch and a silver medallion. So far, the police haven't been able to trace him. There was one other man seen with Caroline. A neighbour saw a man coming out of the back door of the shop and helping her with the dogs. He too has never been traced. Since he clearly knew Caroline, the police are anxious to identify him. At this point, Caroline could have taken one of two routes, but a later possible sighting seems to suggest she took this path towards the gas holder. Beyond this corner and from the other side of the canal, another witness caught a glimpse of someone, possibly Caroline, with a man running after her. That sighting was at 6:50 p.m, and if that was her, it was the last time she was seen alive. By 7:10, the black Labrador was seen heading home. The neighbours became concerned when they noticed the dog exhausted back at the shop without Caroline. One of them went to look for her on the meadows, but by 10:30 that evening, when there was still no sign of her, he telephoned the police. The following morning, the police search resumed, and it was then that the fate of Caroline Osborne was discovered. All night, the neighbour's white dog had been guarding her body. Caroline had been stabbed to death. Well, Detective Superintendent Alan Stagg is heading the investigation. It's a very large area to cover this, isn't it? Have you accounted for all the people on that day in Aylstone Meadows?
No, unfortunately, we haven't. We have got 500 people sighted down there that day, but we've still got 25 unidentified men alone that we haven't been able to trace.
So you need them to come forward?
Yes, we do. It is a very popular place at that time of the year, but we've still been unable to trace them.
Anyone who saw anybody that day. What about those two men we saw?
Yes, the first one, the olive-skinned man with the medallion, he was seen in the shop in March by the witness, but more important, he was seen in the Huntsman Public House on the Narborough Road in Leicester on the following Sunday. And obviously, he appeared to be local, so he's not come forward, and we're anxious to trace him.
And what about the other man?
Well, the other man was seen there in May and June time, 2 or 3 occasions by a neighbour, and we think he may well have been a boyfriend of Caroline's, so obviously we need him to come forward as well.
Now, could that blue van have belonged to one of the two men, do you think?
Could have done. Totally bemusing. You know, we've got over 80 sightings of that blue van being used by Caroline Osborne, and yet we just don't know why she was using it.
Well, surely somebody must know something about that.
You'd have thought so. You know, I would have expected somebody who's lent to the van to come forward and see us, and yet they haven't. And I appeal tonight, of course, for the public to, if they do know anything about anybody lending her a blue van, then to contact us.
And finally, she had been married, hadn't she? Had her ex-husband, Gary Osborne, been able to help you?
Yes, we've had long chats with Gary, because obviously he's a singer. He has been with the Ray McVeigh Orchestra in the past, but in the 1970s he was with the Ivor Kenny Sound in Leicester, and a lot of people would have known Caroline through Gary. So I asked the public, of course, that if they do know Gary and have seen him with Caroline, then of course to contact us.
Right, and as we saw there, Caroline looked rather different there. So the number to ring in confidence, if there's any way you think you can help, is here on 811 8055, or at the incident room at Wigston in Leicester on 0533, that's the code for Leicester, 813 121, or on Leicester 813 122. That's Leicester 813 121 or 813 122. Well, tonight we want you to watch a reconstruction of a strange and sinister case which has been baffling police for the last 5 months. It's the killing of a little boy. The motive is unclear. What we do know is that the case involves a mysterious nighttime visitor, a disappearing television set, and a car left with its headlights on. The victim, who died from a savage beating, was 9-year-old Christopher Laverack. He lived in Humberside in the Anlaby district of Hull. Every other Friday, when he wasn't spending the weekend with his father, Christopher Laverack was brought here to number 7 Harpham Grove to stay with his half-sister and her family. His mother and stepfather made sure that he got there in time for his favourite TV show, The Fall Guy.
Big news from minstrels. Now you get 20% extra.
Christopher always had a good time staying with his half-sister Kim and her husband Stephen Hines. Despite a complicated family life, Christopher was a happy kid. Friends knew him as a shy and sensible lad who loved motorbikes and watching TV. He was getting on well at school and had just recently joined the local church choir. That night, as often happened, Christopher's half-sister Kim was driven to a local pub, the Crown, where she worked as a barmaid, leaving husband Stephen with their own young son and Christopher. At the pub in Marfleet Lane, Chris's mother and stepfather stopped off for a drink with Kim before going to visit relatives. Later that evening, with Christopher still watching the television and the baby in bed, Stephen decided to go out. This was the last reported sighting of Christopher Laverack.
I won't be long. Keep an eye on Martin. What sort of crisps do you want?
Cheese and onion, please.
2 cheese and onion.
Stephen also went to the Crown, the pub where Kim was working. Back at Harpham Grove, an unfamiliar parked car had caught the eye of a neighbour, who Christopher called Auntie Marge. She was wondering why the car had been left with its headlights on.
Steve. Steve. Steve, I want to talk to you. Steve, let me in. Steve, I want to talk to you.
The voice came from someone standing outside Steve's front door. At the dividing wall, Auntie Marge heard the front door being opened. Then all seemed quiet, so she went off to bed. A few minutes later, she heard the car pulling away. That car, according to the best evidence police have, was shaped like this. It's never been traced.
You don't get all this stuff on the top. You get it first one later on the top.
By now, Stephen had spent about an hour in the pub.
Chris? Chris?
Apart from the baby crying, the house was strangely quiet. The television had been ripped out. And then it dawned. Christopher had gone. Stephen ran to tell Kim and then called the police. They started a search in and around the house. Christopher had never run away, and his mother had no idea where he was. His real father was contacted, but he hadn't seen Chris either. The search went on into the night. It was intensified at first light, fanning out across wasteland near Harpham Grove. But there was no sign of Christopher. Nor was there the ransom demand that was half expected. Christopher Laverack had now been missing for 36 hours. Expecting the worst, police divers began dragging a nearby stretch of water. But the discovery was not made by the police. At the same time, 10 miles away, alongside Beverly Beck, this man was taking his usual Sunday morning stroll with his dog. Christopher Laverack had died as a result of severe head injuries inflicted, the police believe, on Friday night. And Detective Chief Inspector Baker is in charge of that case. Now, that bag that Christopher was found in was actually a carpet bag, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a Treader underlay carpet bag, and this is one identical to it.
And are you hoping that somebody might find that gone missing, maybe lost it or left it?
Yes, hoping that somebody in the Humberside or Beverley area, sometime prior to the 9th of March, might have thrown one away or might have lent one to somebody or might have left one outside and it suddenly disappeared or something like that.
How much do you know about how and where he died?
Well, we know that Christopher died on the Friday night, and we know that he died of severe head injuries, and we also know that he died in a field which contained growing winter barley.
Now, forensic evidence shows that he died on the Friday night, but it wasn't until the Sunday morning, in fact, that he was found, 9 miles away from Harpham Grove in Beverley Beck. How do you think he might have got into Beverley Beck?
Well, obviously we think he's gone in some form of vehicle. Which vehicle, we don't know.
Maybe that car, that unidentified car from that night?
Well, obviously we're very interested in that vehicle, and despite numerous appeals to the press and the TV, the driver of that vehicle hasn't come forward.
But somebody at the Beck that weekend may have seen something, surely?
That's right, and we've had a good response from the public. Many people have come forward, but we've never had a sighting of Christopher's body in the Beck until it was seen actually on the Sunday morning.
So you think somebody perhaps would have parked on that bridge or driven past that bridge and seen something?
Somebody could, yes. We did get a lot of reports of vehicles stationary on that bridge, and there's roads that go alongside the Beck, and the boy's body could have easily been put in from there.
Now, what about this television set? The strange thing about it is that it was ripped out from the back of the set, the flex, while it was still plugged in.
That's right. This is the actual flex. This end was plugged into the wall in 7 Harpham Grove. This end went towards the television set, and we believe there's a piece missing from here. So what we're hoping to trace is the television set, and we're hoping that somebody might know of somebody who has got a television set with an unusually short cable, or somebody's asked to repair one, or somebody sold one, or somebody's now got one in the possession. And we're also asking for farmers who have been harvesting in fields of winter barley to keep an eye open for this television set, and we regard this as a vital piece of evidence.
We might find who killed Christopher Laverack if we can find that television set.
Could well be the case, yes.
Mr. Baker, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, if you've got that ITT television or know anything else about the murder, the number, remember, 01 811 8055. Or you can phone Humberside Police direct at Hull. The number, Hull 796271. That's 0482 for Hull 796271. Now, a story about one man and his dog. It's a mystery story that ends up with both man and dog being attacked and stabbed to death in a wood in Sussex. As the story unfolds, you may feel that you have rather little sympathy for the man. He was a drugs dealer, and one that cheated his customers at that. But the police are particularly anxious to catch the killer. It looks like what's at stake here may be a drugs ring whose members are prepared to kill to get their way. The trail starts at a seaside town. Hastings is a quiet south coast resort with pleasure craft and fishing boats and a tradition of smuggling that goes back generations. The modern contraband is drugs, and for those that want it, there's anonymity in a town that's used to having visitors, and there are good connections to London and beyond. 5 months ago, these men discovered how deadly some of those connections are. Near Brightling, 12 miles from Hastings, there's an aerial ropeway that links a gypsum mine and its processing works. For 3 months, there'd been something lying, decomposing and undetected in the undergrowth.
What you got there? What you found? Leave. Get away. Hey! Easy.
Gary Collins was barely recognisable. He'd been 25, tall, with dark curly hair. He and the dog had been beaten and stabbed repeatedly. Gary had always lived in Hastings, a fit young man, a sportsman. He'd been living with his girlfriend, and the two of them had been saving up to buy a house. Gary and his Alsatian collie Trudy had gone missing 2 weeks before Christmas. The last time they were seen alive was when they left their rented flat in St Thomas's Road in Hastings. It's 10 o'clock on the morning of the 12th of December last year. A neighbour saw him leave. Gary Collins should have gone to work that day, but didn't. He had a part-time job packing eggs, but police now know Gary had been running a little business of his own. He started by selling small amounts of cannabis to friends, but then to an ever-growing market. He was known to customers and dealers as the man with the dog. The two of them had been frequent visitors to London in the year before they died. Several of Gary's associates have helped police to build up a picture of his growing trade in drugs. So far, Gary's movements have been traced to North and West London in particular. He's known to have met contacts in Camden, Islington and Kensington. And it's clear his drugs dealing involved double dealing too. Two people, a former partner in crime of his and one of Gary's former cannabis suppliers, have given matching descriptions of an incident that shows the dangerous and devious game Gary was involved in. The drug supplier was to meet them at Victoria.
Get it all?
Yeah, fine.
I'll put this in the boot.
Yeah. You got a fag?
You have one of these, you want one?
Where's he gone?
So I made a phone call, eh?
You got the money, then?
Well, give it to you to snout, didn't he?
You bastards.
By then, it was too late. Gary's accomplice vanished with the drugs, and Gary just drove off. Gary's deals were also growing more ambitious. Through Interpol, police have traced a grand scheme for smuggling cocaine through Brussels and Amsterdam, financed by exporting illegal amphetamines to Stockholm. Shocked by Gary's murder, another dealer at the time explains how Gary was now playing in a bigger league.
He was known as the dealer, the man with the BMW and the dog. He would have been an easy target to any of the other type of gangsters that are just looking plainly to rip people off. You know, I mean, they'll sort of promise the earth, and all they want is to rip off everything. They'll even come up with the hash, and you'll come up with the money, and they'll take both.
What happened in the last few hours of Gary's life is still not known. Remember, it's Monday morning, 2 weeks before Christmas. Someone drove his grey BMW to Battle railway station. The station staff saw it there at noon. The rest is speculation. Except for one thing. Whoever took the car there took the trouble to turn it round in the narrow car park to face the exit. Perhaps Gary drove it there himself. Maybe he'd arranged to meet a contact there. Curiously, though Gary was meticulous about his BMW, the car was left unlocked. Maybe there was an unexpected change of plan. Or maybe Gary met someone at Battle Station from a London or Hastings train, and perhaps they drove off together, and the car was later taken back there after Gary's death. Or maybe Gary never went to Battle Station. The car was simply dumped there after he was killed. Whatever happened at the station, somehow, presumably with someone, Gary went to the secluded woods by the gypsum mine near Breitling. With him, as almost always, was his dog. Somewhere he changed into Wellingtons from the light brown moccasins he'd been wearing when he'd left the flat. The moccasins are an important clue. They haven't yet been found. It's fairly certain from forensic evidence that Gary was alive when he arrived at the woods near Breitling. Maybe he was forced there. Maybe he was going to retrieve some hidden drugs or money. On Monday, December the 12th last year, Gary Collins and Trudy went on their last walk together. Well, you might see something about the death of Gary Collins in the papers tomorrow, because today an inquest at Hastings into his death recorded a verdict of unlawful killing. Superintendent Clements, it's obviously a very difficult case for you, because people who've been dealing in drugs, people who've been buying cannabis, are most unlikely to come forward as witnesses.
That's true. We've considered the matter so serious that we've granted an amnesty against anybody that has had any drug dealings with Gary Collins, in the hope that they'll come forward and give us information or evidence that may help us trace the person responsible for Gary's death.
To be candid, even though you say you've got an amnesty, I can imagine people watching who may have known Gary, may have, say, bought cannabis from him, don't think they can solve the murder and will be very reluctant, particularly if they don't have a record, to get on police files.
Well, I can quite definitely say that anyone that comes forward and gives details about dealings they've had with Gary can feel absolutely certain nothing will happen. We have plenty of statements from people who've had dealings with Gary, that statements which could have landed them into very serious trouble, but we've taken no notice of this because we're after a particularly vicious criminal who's killed this man in a most savage manner.
The man in the silhouette?
That's right.
Who helped us, what's happened to him? Have you taken action against him?
No, not at all.
And if people want to ring anonymously, will you listen to their information?
Absolutely. Obviously, the best information is from persons who give their name and address, but anyone who wants to ring anonymously, we should be more than pleased to hear what they've got to say, Mr. Ross.
Now, if people do ring in, what is it that you want to know? What sort of people do you want to reach?
We want to hear from people that have known Gary, especially in drug stealing, anybody that might have seen him when he arrived at Battle Railway Station on the 12th of December, or perhaps even out at Breitling Wood. People that might have been on holiday, that just happened to be passing and didn't even know that a murder had been committed.
The date, of course, 2 weeks before Christmas, the 12th of December,
That's
wasn't
right.
it? So you really want anybody who knew Gary, did drugs dealing, but knew him at any stage and may know nothing about the murder?
Well, if they think they can help us at all, we would be more than pleased to hear from them.
Have you got hold of everyone you want in particular? Are there any people you know of out there that haven't yet come forward?
There is a lady, a blonde woman, in a brown coat that has been seen by a green Toledo, that has been seen with Gary on the A21, which is the battle to the main London road, on at least 2 occasions, and on one occasion which she was with 2 men who carried grey disposable bags. And I would like to say, Mr. Ross, that there is also, of course, a reward of £5,000 offered by Mr. Collins Sr., Gary's father, for any information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the persons responsible for Gary's death.
Bill Clements, thank you very much indeed. Right, again, the numbers, remember there's an amnesty, remember whatever you think about cannabis or other drugs, we're looking for a murderer and a man who could strike again. Call us here, please, 01 811 8055. You can talk to civilians if you prefer, or you can call Sussex Police directly. Their number, Hastings 444 212. That's 0424 444 212. We start with a crime that made the headlines a year ago, but which is still unsolved. It's the murder of a wealthy London solicitor, Janice Weston. There appears to be no motive for the killing. She had no known enemies, there were no sexual assault, no robbery. She was battered to death in a lay-by on the A1 last September. The case is baffling, but there's a wealth of clues to follow up, and detectives here tonight are convinced that if you watch this reconstruction carefully, someone will be able to provide them with at least one of the missing links.
Our reconstruction begins at 11:20 a.m. on the 10th of September last year at Kensington Tire Motors in West London. That Saturday, Janice Weston set out to collect the spare wheel of her Alfa Romeo Alfetta car. This wheel was to become the vital missing link in the search for her murderer. Janice was seen shopping near her home at Holland Park at around midday. She was a solicitor and had told friends she'd be completing work for a client and staying in London over the weekend. Janice had been married for just 15 months to property developer Tony Weston. Together they'd bought this country house in Clopton near Northampton, which they were converting into luxury apartments. This particular weekend, with her husband away in France on business, Janice called into her office at Lincoln's Inn. The exact time isn't known, but it was sometime on Saturday afternoon. Janice was a partner in the firm Charles Russell & Company, and at 36 was at the peak of her professional career. She was successful, popular, and led a busy social life. She'd gained a reputation as an international expert on company law, and was also completing a book on a specialist interest of hers, computer data protection. On that Saturday afternoon, an eyewitness reports seeing Janice frequently looking out of the office window, as if she were expecting someone.
Hello, Charles Russell. I'm afraid he's not. Can I help you?
Police know that she was still in the office at 4:45 p.m. because she took a phone call for a colleague. Piecing together the evidence, police believe that later that afternoon, Janice returned to her basement flat in Addison Avenue, West London, and made herself a meal. But then, contrary to what she'd said to friends about staying in London that weekend, she evidently decided to leave. She gathered together the remnants of her meal, which included a partly drunk bottle of wine and a half-eaten loaf of bread, and with an overnight bag and a purse containing £37, she set off. Yet strangely, she left behind her handbag. It contained her chequebook and all her credit cards, but she did take with her the keys to the country house in Clopton. It was unusual for her to set off for the manor house alone, if indeed she did set off alone, and it would have been very uncomfortable there with the renovations in progress. Driving north up the A1 towards Northampton on Saturday night, the traffic was heavy. Police believe it must have been 9 p.m. or later by the time she reached the Huntingdon stretch of the A1. Just north of Huntingdon, only 16 miles from her country home, she pulled into a lay-by. Later, forensic evidence found traces of grease on her fingernails, which suggests that the reason she pulled in here was to change the wheel of her car. But Janice Weston wasn't alone. Police still don't know whether her killer followed her into that lay-by or had been in the car with her. Janice Weston was killed by a series of blows to the head, so ferocious that it took police 3 days to identify her. The next day, Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, David Hurst is cycling along the A1 on a 12-hour time trial for the Luton Wheelers Cycling Club. As usual, he'd arranged with his wife to give him refreshment along the route. It so happened she chose to wait for him in that same lay-by where Janice Weston's car had been that previous night.
Yeah, fine. Cold. Why don't you No, terrible. No, I should be all right. Be all right. I'm just going to go here.
At almost the same time, just 23 miles away at Royston, a man called into CB Car's garage with an apparently straightforward request.
You make number, please? No, I'm sorry, we don't, but they do in the store next door. Thanks.
He made his way to Auto Spares, where his purchase was to become one of the most mysterious aspects of the whole case.
Do you do number, please?
Yes.
Hello.
A few minutes, so in between customers.
Good.
Okay. A pen?
Yeah.
And number?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, I'll be 2 minutes.
Okay.
He didn't state what number he wanted, but handed over a scrap of paper. That number was already on police files. It was Janice Weston's number. Redhill Street in Camden, northwest London. 4 days after Janice Weston's death, her Alfa Romeo Alfetta car was found abandoned on a parking meter. Inside, police found the keys to her London flat and to the country home. They also found her purse. Nothing had been stolen. But when they opened the boot of the car, the spare wheel was missing. The tyre that she'd collected that Saturday morning had now been put on the rear near side of the car. But the other wheel was gone and has never been traced. Well, heading the investigation is Detective Chief Superintendent Len Bradley of Cambridgeshire Police. There are many, many strange aspects about this case. Have you any idea what the motive might have been for the murder?
Well, certainly I think I can rule out robbery and sexual attack. The other theory, one theory we have possibly, is Janice was accompanied along that road. They stopped to change a wheel and there was a disagreement and then Janice was battered to death in that lay-by.
So you think she may have known her killer?
Most certainly, yes.
Who was that man at Royston asking about those number plates?
Well, this could, again, be an incredible coincidence. The man could have purchased those number plates for a stolen vehicle. And if that is the case, I hope he will come forward, because I'm not really interested in prosecuting him for or being connected with theft of vehicles. But of course, if he is connected with the murder, then I want to know from any person in Royston who was about on that Sunday morning, which was quite a quiet Sunday, and any information will be gladly received in respect of that man.
What clues do you have about what happened to Janice's car after the murder?
Well, almost certainly the car was facing in a northerly direction, and it would either need to cross the carriageway or go further up towards the Brampton Hotel, and then it traversed the road backwards towards in a sort of different direction completely towards London, and was found, as you've said, in Redhill Street, Camden Town area, and almost certainly abandoned before lunchtime on Sunday the following day.
And what about the mystery of that missing wheel? Why do you think it is missing, and where do you think it might be?
Well, it could have been discarded in a hurry and left on the lay-by, and it could have been picked up during the night before the police were called to the murder scene, in which case I hope even that person might come forward to be eliminated from this murder inquiry.
What is distinctive about the wheel?
It's distinctive in as much as it's an Alfa Romeo wheel. It has 20 air vent holes round the wheel, and it also has the centre boss, which has the Alfa Romeo motive thereon.
So we hope somebody might have found one like it somewhere along that route.
Yes, somewhere along the route on the A1 on that weekend, the 10th of September 1983, with a Michelin tyre on.
Can you briefly sum up then what you're hoping people tonight might be able to help you with?
Well, I'm interested in tracing the man who purchased the number plates. I want to hear from anybody who saw Janice after 4:45 p.m. on the Saturday, either driving her car or in the lay-by at Huntingdon. And I also want to hear from anybody who has seen anybody acting suspiciously in the lay-by, or who may have bloodstained clothing or returned home that weekend bloodstained, or any person who might have seen any discarded bloodstained clothing.
Mr. Bradley, thank you very much. And if you think you can help, do please ring us. You can talk to the detectives here, or if you prefer, you can talk to a BBC researcher in absolute confidence. The number is 01811 8055. The lines are open now, but if you can't get through, please keep trying. Or you can call Cambridgeshire Police direct at Peterborough 63232. That's 0733 for Peterborough 63232. Well, now to a murder case that seems to show a sort of random violence that may well be unleashed again unless the man responsible is caught. In March this year, a minicab driver was ferociously stabbed to death. His body was found in the back of his own car near Heathrow Airport. Now, that was the second time a cab driver had been found dead in the same area and in similar circumstances.
Heathrow is on the western tip of London, a city in its own right, alive 24 hours a day with travellers and airport workers. In recent months, in or near it, 2 men have died in separate and frenzied knife attacks. Stephen Sylvester was 39. He worked as a driver for Skyways minicabs at Kingsley Road near Hounslow East Tube Station, some 4 miles from the airport. It's a Wednesday night last November. Stephen usually worked overnight, and in the early hours of Thursday, the date November the 17th, he drove back to the office after taking a fare to nearby Feltham.
Stephen. Hi. Things are very quiet now. You better take over. I'll see you in the morning.
Oh, cool.
All right.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, sure.
It's 2:30 in the morning. Now the controller and the other driver have gone home to sleep. Stephen's on his own. At some point between 2:30 and 3:30, Stephen must have left the office, presumably with another fare. Whether he responded to a phone call or someone visited the office is still unknown. What is known is that this was the last trip Stephen ever took alive.
Where to now, Gov?
Yeah, left to the next one.
Hey?
Turn left.
At some point, Stephen got into the back seat, or was forced there, and in a frantic and bloody attack was knifed to death. With Stephen's body in the boot, the killer then took the wheel and drove the car towards the airport. Maybe he worked there. Maybe he was flying off somewhere. Why did he head towards the short-term car park at Terminal 3? Perhaps he hoped that in a crowded car park, the vehicle would not be found. The police know that he got here at 4:05 a.m. He dropped the entrance ticket on the floor of the car. At this time of night, the upper floors are blocked off and only the ground floor is used for parking, mainly by night shift workers at the airport. Whoever killed Stephen would have been heavily blood-stained. Someone must have seen him. Did he go to one of the toilets to wash off the blood? Did he catch a plane or hitch a lift back to London or elsewhere? 4 days later, on Monday, November the 21st, police who'd been looking for Stephen found his blood-stained car abandoned in the car park and discovered the awful truth.
Hunter Delta from 572, active message over.
It seemed like a crazy but an isolated crime. Then, 6 months after the Heathrow murder, there was another killing in the same area. And it was like the first. The victim was a driver with Blue Star minicabs of Martindale Road near Hounslow West. Pardeep Sanger helped out his father-in-law, driving part-time on weekday evenings. The cars there weren't equipped with radios, so after each fare the driver had to return to base. It was Friday evening, the 30th of March this year, the day before the Grand National. Pardeep had already made about a dozen journeys that night and returned to the office to wait for further calls. At about midnight, a man rang from a call box not far away.
Hello, yeah. I want a cab to go to Felton. Yeah, at a phone box near some traffic lights on the Great West Road. No, the next traffic lights.
At about the same time, a tall soldier and 2 young girls called at the Blue Star office. They too were asking to be taken to Feltham. Because of inconsistencies in the minicab log sheets, the police don't know which call Pardeep responded to first, the soldier and 2 girls who wanted to go to Feltham, or the still untraced caller from the phone box at the Lambton Road junction. Near the phone box is the Boom Boom Wine Bar and the Heathrow Tandoori Curry House. It may be that someone who'd been eating or drinking in the area noticed the man waiting for a cab. They may even remember if Pardeep did pick him up. It's only 4 miles from Hounslow to Feltham, and at around midnight the trip wouldn't have taken long. So Pardeep could have done both trips, or even picked up someone else in the Feltham area. The next thing that's known for certain took place on a slip road off the A30, close to the airport's southern perimeter fence. The car had run out of petrol. The killer tried to open the boot, but couldn't. He was unable to take the keys out of the ignition. He must have walked away. Perhaps he hitchhiked. The time between 12:30 and 2 in the morning of Saturday the 31st of March. Even at that time of night, the Great Southwest Road is busy, especially with lorries. Someone must have noticed the car stranded there. At 2 a.m, Pardeep was found slumped behind the passenger seat. He'd been frenziedly stabbed to death. Some credit cards were missing, along with a small amount of money. So the killer is possibly a racist, possibly a robber, apparently a psychopath. Detective Chief Superintendent John Pole is the man hunting for him. You tell me that he's tall, but you won't tell me why you think he's a tall man. And you've brought some knives. It looks like he's a knife freak as well.
Yes, that's so. This is a replica of an English commando knife issued during the last war. It was found in Sylvester's cab underneath the front passenger seat. We know it's not Sylvester's knife. It doesn't appear to be the murder weapon.
But possibly dropped there or almost certainly put there by the murderer.
Yes. Here, this is a US M3 American Army trench knife issued to the American commandos. Found about 2¼ miles further along the A30, hidden behind a GPO junction box. We're satisfied this is the murder weapon in the case of Sanger. Sanger lost, or was carrying that evening, a ceremonial knife because he's a Sikh, or a Karpan. His particular knife is missing. This is one similar to it, but the one that's missing has a blue band around it.
So anyone who found a Karpan like this, but with a blue instead of the orange band,
Yes.
you want to hear from them. These keys, where do they come from? They look like clock keys or watch keys
the
or
pocket
something.
watch keys. They were found at the rear of Sylvester's car in the car park. I don't know if they have any connection with this case. I'm just curious to know how they got there.
Right. Now, you want, obviously, to find out who made the phone call to Pardeep Sanger. That was from the Lambton Road junction of the Great West Road, is
Yes,
it?
yes.
Anybody who made a phone call on that night, which was, what, the 30th of March, wasn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
And then there are the people that must have been in the vicinity at that time. This is where the car was abandoned on the South Perimeter Road of the airport.
Yes, well, we're happy now that the car was there about 1:45. It seems about the same time. There was a man in his 50s in a red tracksuit jogging. About 1:45, there was a man with bushy hair and a bushy beard exercising his dog. Neither of those people we've been yet able to find. Later on, about the same time, a man was seen standing right next to the car. A man in his late 30s, early 40s, wearing a two-piece grey suit with grey or sandy-coloured hair. And he was seen actually by the car. That's about an hour after we know it was there.
This is Friday the 30th of March, or it may have been the early in the morning of Saturday,
Yes.
the 31st.
31st.
Right, Mr. Powell, thank you very much indeed. Now, if you think you can help in any way, please don't let a murder like this happen again. Looking for a tall man, possibly a knife freak, all the other clues you've heard. The number, if you know anything, 01811 8055. That's here at Crimewatch. Or you can call Heathrow Police Station direct. That's 01897 7373 01897 7373.
3 weeks ago, near Bristol, a body was discovered. The victim was a woman, a mother of 2, and she'd been missing from home since early June. Shelley Morgan was an American by birth, but had married and lived here in Britain for 12 years. She and the children had only recently moved to Bedminster, a suburb of Bristol. Her husband planned to join them when he'd finished renovating their family home in Wales in order to sell it. Shelley was an artist, and things had been going very well for her. She'd had a commission from an art dealer to paint these views of Bristol, and she had one left to finish, a view of the Clifton Suspension Bridge. Our reconstruction begins at Shelley's home on the day that she went missing, the morning of Monday, the 11th of June.
That's it. Thank you. That's it, darling.
I'm ready.
Good. I'm nearly ready. I'm just going to do a bit of packing.
What are you taking that for, Mum?
My camera? Well, you know that bridge I showed you the other day, that pretty one near Clifton?
Oh, yeah, that big one.
Well, that's the last of my sketches.
Oh.
And if I take some photographs, then I can paint and draw at all the angles that I want.
Oh.
Okay? Come on.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning. Come on, darling.
Hello, Charlotte. Hello. Home at the usual time?
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Morning, Mrs. Morgan. Morning, Mrs. Newcomb. A couple of hours after seeing her children off to school, sometime between 10 and 11 a.m., Shelley Morgan called into the sorting office in Kent Street to collect a registered letter.
I've got a banker's card.
The letter contained money from her husband, which he sent every week while he was away working on their house in Wales.
Here you go. Thank you. Bye.
Where Shelley went next has not been fully established. However, a witness travelling on this bus thinks she saw someone closely resembling Shelley get on at about 10 that morning. She remembered the woman because of her long fair hair and her distinctive red glasses. If indeed it was Shelley Morgan, that bus would have taken her to the centre of Bristol and the bus station. Police would like to hear from anyone who may have spotted Shelley after 11 o'clock that morning. If she did plan to photograph the Clifton Suspension Bridge, she could have got a bus from here. When the children came home from school, their mother wasn't there. The house was locked and empty. Finally, a neighbour took them into her house to wait for her. As time went on, it became increasingly clear that something was very wrong. At 7:30 p.m. that Monday, the 11th of June, Shelley Morgan was officially registered as a missing person. Months went by, birthdays passed, and still no word from Shelley. Fears were becoming expectations. Then on Monday, the 24th of September, police headquarters in Bristol received this dramatic phone call.
I got some very important information about the missing woman from Windmill Hill. But unfortunately, this is going to turn out to be a murder inquiry. The body is in a Waltree grave. I'm not certain whereabouts too. It's in Hannam River, between the bottom of Conham Hill and the old Seagull.
Police had to take this call seriously. Immediately, they launched an underwater search team to look for the body. After 19 days, their intensive search revealed nothing.
Tell me when you're ready to leave bottom over.
The call about the stretch of river at Hannam had been a hoax. Then just 2 days later, police were speeding west of the suspension bridge where Shelley had intended to take photographs, and west of Bristol to Backwell, just 8 miles from where Shelley lived. Their destination was Long Lane in Backwell, Avon. The missing person inquiry had become a murder investigation. On Sunday, the 14th of October, 3 small children found a badly decomposed body. It was Shelley Morgan. Missing from the scene were her clothing, glasses and bag containing her camera, sketchbooks and the registered letter from her husband. The body was found not in a watery grave, but at Watercatch Farm. A full-scale police investigation to find her killer has now begun. Shelley Morgan's father speaks for the first time about his daughter's death.
Well, the biggest irony of this whole thing is that for 12 years, during which time Shelley was here, we never worried about her physical safety. We knew that she was here in a very highly civilized, decent country, surrounded by people of goodwill and honesty and generally well-ordered community. And we simply did not have to worry about our daughter. Of course, now this is all gone. She's We can't bring her back, but we can, I think, consider those who are still here. We feel that this person is an extreme menace to just about anyone. And we hope that anyone who might someday or somehow know something about this person, that they will be able to come forward to the police and convey this information to them.
Well, Detective Superintendent, the anonymous caller who called you had a local accent. Do you think he would have had anything to do with Shelley's death, in fact?
Well, we won't know until we trace him. I wouldn't have thought so. But it is very strange that he phones us 3 months after her disappearance. Why? Why was he phoning us at that time? Is there some little piece of information that he's got that he wanted us to be interested in? We won't know until we find him.
If it is a hoax and he comes forward, will you prosecute him?
Of course not. We're dealing with a murder inquiry. All we want to do is arrive at the truth, and that's it. So if he is watching, please contact us and we'll resolve it and find out what it was all about.
Now, you're sure that she was killed on the actual day she disappeared, on June the 11th. What was the motive for her murder, do you believe?
Well, it has all the appearance of sex. She was naked apart from her shoes and a pair of tights, face down in a copse. Her clothing's gone somewhere. We're still carrying out certain tests, but there is little doubt that it must have been a sexual attack and then a murder.
So what exactly do you need the public's help with? The clothing's missing, as you say. Do you think somebody might have found that?
Anything and everything. Anything that anybody knows about her movements. Perhaps the man responsible is already in prison and has talked to somebody. Anybody who's got a lodger they're worried about. A woman who's had a bad experience in a car. Somebody trying to pick her up in a car. That's the one thing we are certain of. She must have been taken there in a car, and at that time she was either alive or she was dead.
That bag is very distinctive, isn't it? That might provide a clue.
It is. That bag was made from a blueprint that her mother supplied from materials that we found at her home, very similar to the one she had. As you've already said, her dress is missing, her red spectacles are missing, the registered envelope is missing. All those items are somewhere. Her clothing is somewhere.
And the most vital clue of all, of course, is the camera.
This is the most vital clue that we have got, as you said. This is an identical camera. It's an Olympus, as you see. It's an OM20 camera. And I do appeal to anybody watching tonight, please give us 2 minutes of your time, because there's only one camera in the world that's got the number 1032853 on it. It's stamped there on the metal at the bottom here. That camera was stolen from her. Please take time after the programme to look. If you've acquired a camera like that since the 11th of June, please check it. And any dealer that's watching, will you please take a note of that number and check your stock in the morning.
Detective Superintendent, thank you very much indeed. The number to ring is 01811 8055, or you can call the incident room in Bristol, which is Nailsea 854011, 0272 854011. And if you live in Bristol, you can ask the operator for free phone Nailsea Incident Room.
Our next and our last reconstruction tonight is a crime that police already know is going to be a very hard one to crack. It seems to have been a professional killing, a cold-blooded execution almost. Now, you may not know who did it, but you might know of a motive or have a clue. The victim was Lloyd Simpson, a Londoner, and if you're an East Ender, you might have seen him walking Yank, his American pit bull terrier, in Victoria Park in Hackney. It's Guy Fawkes night a year ago. Lloyd was watching television. Outside, there was a fireworks party, a noisy one. This film might prick someone's conscience. In fact, Lloyd's father is so anxious and determined to have the killers caught that he's decided to relive what happened with an actor playing the part of his son.
Lloyd, can you get them sacks for me? Colour in there and white in there. All right, then. I'm a waste paper dealer. I collect waste paper, cardboard, and I do transport. So Lloyd worked for me. Just got to make a quick phone call. Lloyd was with me Friday afternoon, and I asked him if he'd take the car home on the night time. So he said, yeah, OK, I will.
So long, Dad. See you later.
When I arrived at the pub, he was sitting at the bar, drinking his little half a pint, as he always has, and his cigar. But he never seemed worried, never seemed anything like that. He seemed happy enough. On the Saturday, what he done, he brought the car back, then he's locked the car up, and then he's took the dog and gone his usual way. That's gone over the flyover, right, into Victoria Park, and gone down towards home.
Oh, easy. Easy, boy. Easy. Long way to go yet, mate. Come on. Yank. Come on. Yank, back foot. Come on. Get your legs up. Yes. Go on. Who's that? Go on. Go on. See if you can get him. Go on. Go on. You can do better than that. Go on. Hamilton. Slow down.
Yank is a wonderful dog. He's an American Pit Bull Terrier. They're a nice, friendly dog, providing you keep them away from other dogs. They seem to want to fight other dogs.
All right, mate. I can't stop. I'll see you later on, all right?
They are valuable dogs. I would say they're at £500–600. They're supposed to be being brought into this country for fighting, but I don't know of any what do fight, and I know the Yankees never fight because Yank's only 11. He was only 11 months old. Now, as he goes down the canal, this is where he's met Chrissy Roberts before he's gone home, and that's all I can tell you about that part of it.
All right, mate.
Yeah, how you doing?
Hello, Chris.
All right, Yank?
He's doing all right.
Yeah, he looks good.
Like new harness?
Yeah, lovely. Where did you get that?
Well, I bought it today, just down the road.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Handsome.
I'll tell you what, I've got his old one indoors. You can have that if you want.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll drop it off a bit later on.
Lovely. Fine, where you been?
I just dropped the motor off down the old man's.
Yeah? Yeah.
As it goes, I better get him home, get him some dinner, like.
Yeah, look
all right?
hungry.
I'll see you later, all right? Good luck, mate.
Chrissy was the last one to see him alive. That was about 1:30. Then he went home. Whether he went straight home, that I wouldn't know.
Come on, you. Up. No. Give it time. Give it time, boy. Come on. You enjoyed that, didn't you? Huh? You enjoyed that little monkey, didn't you? Yeah, that's a good boy. Good boy. Yeah. Come on, little cookie. Come on. Yeah.
Now, can you actually believe this? 2:07:41 is race. Bartelski is over the bump. He's over the second.
Blessed files.
Going to bowl you over. Bowl you over, get it? The rumble tombs, you've seen them on telly.
A sort of Ida. Pressing all the myths, don't put off the devotees of a sport.
As far as we know, he laid there from the Saturday to the Sunday, and from the Sunday to the Monday. Because it wasn't until I went in the flat and I found it. I went through the door, and then I shouted out, Lloyd, Lloyd, where are you? Lloyd. And then I got no reply. You know, when you think the walls are so thin and our people don't hear anything with like a shotgun going off, it's hard to believe that no one couldn't hear anything. I can't accept that no one don't know about it, because someone out there must know about this. And I know if someone do know, but they're as bad as them who killed him.
Bill Peters, why was he killed? What was the motive?
If I knew why Lloyd Simpson was killed, I'm convinced I would be very close to finding those responsible. Quite clearly, he was killed for something he had in his possession. I think it may be drugs or something like that, because his premises had been searched very thoroughly and in what appears to be a frenzied way. And those responsible probably found what they were looking for. But it must have been something very important for them to kill Lloyd Simpson for.
He wasn't expecting anyone, was he?
He certainly wasn't. All indications are that he was sitting watching television quite comfortably with his shoes off, watching Saturday afternoon television.
So he hadn't made an appointment. I mean, could they have known that he was going to be there? Might he have met them that afternoon?
I don't think so. They could see him from the veranda by looking straight through the kitchen window. They could see him sitting there clearly through the beaded curtain, and they then kicked the door in, went in and shot him.
Now, apart from the neighbour, no one saw him, no one heard him?
That seems to be the case.
Unless, of course, people were frightened to tell you about it.
Yes, this may well be so. If anyone is too frightened to come forward and to give me their name and address, they can do so, obviously, anonymously or in complete confidentiality.
And, of course, they can talk to a civilian if they're too frightened to talk to a police officer. So the motive is really the key thing. You need to find out why he died, and then you'll know who killed him.
Yes, that would be a big step forward. Quite clearly, those responsible were very calculating. They chose the night very carefully because of the fireworks going off at the time, and they were thoroughly ruthless. And I would just like to add my words to those of his father and say that if any of you know why Lloyd Simpson was killed, whatever he had in his possession, please contact us as soon as possible.
All right, Bill Peters, thanks very much. You can call us here at Crimewatch on 01 811 8055, or you can ring the City Road Police direct at City Road on 488 5271. That's 488.
Well, this month, we start with the murder of a policeman. You'll almost certainly have read about the case, and it appeared in the press on the same day as Mrs. Gandhi's death was reported. It was 7 weeks ago, Wednesday the 31st of October. Police Sergeant John Speed, a married man with 2 children, was buried at Leeds Parish Church, ironically just 50 feet from where he'd been gunned down. He was shot as he went to help a colleague who was gravely wounded. Sergeant Speed and his colleague were both unarmed, and on the face of it, there appeared to be precious little motive for such violence. But West Yorkshire Police believe the shooting may be linked to 2 previous robberies in the area. We start our reconstruction with a look back to 1981.
police, please. Hello? Could you send somebody round now to outside Leeds Parish Church? There's two guys that look like they're going to pinch a car. It's a yellow Mark III Ford Cortina. It's right outside the door, right opposite the front door of Leeds Parish Church.
Will you attend Kirkgate near to the parish church? A report of two men acting suspiciously near to a yellow Ford Cortina saloon.
Just a minute. Where are you going?
I'm not going anywhere. Why? What's wrong?
We've had a report that two men have been acting suspiciously round this car park. Is it you?
I've done that.
You've been messing about with this Cortina?
No.
Have you
I
been
haven't
in this
done
car?
anything.
I've checked the rear of the car park, but all is in order.
2977. Couldn't you get Sergeant Speed to come to the front of the parish church, Kirkgate? (10:13). 10:13. I've been shot. Get an ambulance. 2977 to control. Description of gunman. He's a white male, about 40 years of age. Stocky build, wearing a grey flat cap and an olive green army-type jacket.
Control to all available units. Go immediately to the parish church area. We've a report that PC Thorpe and Sergeant Speed have been shot. The gunman and a second man are running towards Shannon Street. 1509 is in pursuit.
Get out of the back.
What the hell's going off, mate?
Just leave me then.
What's the guy there? Everything's bad, mate. Come on, then.
Belgav control to all units. Suspect has hijacked a Port Transit van. The registration number, Echo Whiskey Uniform. 455 Yankee. It's blue in colour and has Stanton roofing painted on the side with a ladder fixed to the roof. Stantons. It's the police from Gipton. Can you put the light on top of that van? It'll help us to find it. OK, thank you very much.
The Indian Prime Minister, Mrs. Gandhi, has been shot dead by assassins in Delhi. The shooting happened just a few hours ago, and Mrs. Gandhi was rushed to hospital.
Spot of weather, please, Francis.
Yes, there's a splash reaching Scotland and Ireland now, and it's going to be a damp Halloween for Scotland and Ireland. Further south, England and Wales looks pretty good today. It's going to be warm, quite sunny. There's some morning mist to clear. There's the odd patchy black cloud.
Of the sad death of Mrs. Gandhi, but we will be bringing you that tomorrow.
There we are, thank you very much indeed. Very warm, extraordinarily warm for the time of the year, don't you think?
Yeah, it should be about 12, 13. It's probably 16, 17 this afternoon, yeah. So Indian summer.
Milgard Control to Firearm Unit 51. Will you attend St Elmo's Grove, Leeds 9 immediately? The hijacked vehicle has been recovered in that area. Will you conduct an immediate search there? Outside the Anglers Club in Nippet Lane. He's a white male, 5 feet 10 inches, well built although not fat, around 40 years of age, mousy coloured hair but grey in collar length. He's wearing a brown and grey checked cap, olive green combat type jacket and dark trousers. Can I reiterate that this man is armed and dangerous? If seen, do not approach but inform control.
Well, the man in charge of the inquiry is Detective Chief Superintendent John Conboy. Firstly, why are you linking those two raids we saw at the beginning of that reconstruction, the two raids in Pudsey in 1981?
Because the gun used and the bullets used are very similar to the gun and bullets used in the shooting of the two police officers.
And what do we know about this gun?
It's a .38 revolver, similar to that gun there.
Right. People in the underworld might know about that gun.
It may well be that somebody has sold the gun within the last few months in Leeds, yes.
All right, now let's try and establish the geography. All of this, of course, took place within a very small area. In fact, within 1.5 miles of Kirkgate Parish Church, where the shooting happened. The gunman then ran off, chased by Constable John Raj, to this point here, where he hijacked that blue van at Rhodes Filling Station. The next sighting we have is about a mile away in St Elmo Grove, where, incredibly it seems, he stayed with the van for over 3/4 of an hour. Then, having been spotted by a patrol car, he abandoned the van, taking with him a blue helmet, and headed off this way. Here at Tory Road, he was seen getting rid of the blue helmet. But the trail didn't end there. There were 4 more sightings of the gunman before he reached Leeds Anglers Club at Nippets Lane, where he was seen for the last time, as far as we know, by that woman hanging out her washing. Now, why would you have spent 3/4 of an hour with the van?
Well, I feel he was hiding in public in that area. It's a quiet area of Leeds, off the main York-Leeds road. It may well be he's waiting for his accomplice to arrive there, or it may well be that he was going to carry out a robbery at a nearby post office or building society.
Right. What had happened to his accomplice, incidentally?
Well, his accomplice was last seen running through the Garden of Rest and onto the railway embankment, and we don't really have any more sightings of him then.
But I gather he was seen, or at least conceivably it was him, was seen talking to a woman by some people working in an old people's home.
There's a possibility he was seen on the Eber estate of Bermontofts by people in the old people's home talking to that woman there,
Now,
yes.
this woman hasn't come forward yet, despite your appeals.
No, we would like her to come forward. She's about 45'4" with fair hair. I've made a number of appeals for her to come forward, and I feel she should do, because I think she gave that man directions.
And what about that man? What do we know about his appearance?
Well, he's between 30 and 40, 5'10" to 6 foot. He's got dark brown hair. He was wearing a dark donkey jacket and green overalls.
Presumably what you want from the public are any sightings that they might have had of these two men on that morning. It was, what, Wednesday, the 31st of October? All this happened between roughly 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well, it may well be that people in Leeds may have seen those two men together before, and I would hope they would come in and tell us if they have. Any criminal in Leeds, and we've had a great deal of help from the criminals of Leeds, may identify them. I would hope they'd come forward. And if there's anyone who may have kept them in a guest house, lodging house or hotel the night before, I would like them to come forward.
The underworld really has helped you try and trace this man?
They have, yes.
Here is the Crimewatch video fit of him. There you see him coloured in. Maybe you could just repeat what we're looking for.
Well, he's about 40 years of age, 5'10". He's stocky build. He was wearing that check cap, olive green combat jacket, dark trousers, and as I said, he's about 40 years of age.
In the reconstruction, he had a rather stiff sort of gait, a rather strange run. Was that because he'd hurt himself, or does he normally run like that?
He may have hurt himself near the wall at the parish church. A number of witnesses have said he ran pincy-toed.
Right. John Conboy, thank you very much indeed. If there's any way in which you think that you might be able to help, please do call us. Here's the number, 01811 8055. Remember, there's a very big reward. You can talk to a BBC researcher if you prefer. You can call the police directly in Leeds. The number there is Leeds 454 197. That's 0532 454 197. And let me stress that you can call in the strictest confidence. Now we want to take you back 7 months to the night of Thursday, the 24th of May. What happened on that night has tantalised a large team of detectives and orphaned 2 small children. The place is Balsall Heath in Birmingham. There's a red light district there that attracts streetwalkers and cruising cars from all around the city. Several women have been murdered in Birmingham in recent years. Prostitutes are frightened, but they work on.
I've been a prostitute for 18 years, and I work in the Balsall area. Since Yvonne died, it's very frightening. Very, very frightening out there. Because you never know who you're picking up. He could talk very, very nice, act as a gentleman until he gets you to the place. Then he could turn all of a sudden.
That's almost certainly what happened to Yvonne Coley. She was 28, quiet but well-liked, and though she'd never married, she was a mother with 2 young daughters to support.
Beverly, don't you stay up late watching this telly.
And finally, the 24 hours after the Lancashire water station
Good night, Beverly.
it's still not
Don't
known
stay up
what
late
caused
now.
the explosion which killed
No,
9
good night,
people.
love.
One of them at
Now don't go to
12
sleep late.
Messages of sympathy have been sent by the Queen and by the Prime Minister. This has been News at 10. Good night.
We know just after News at 10 had finished that Yvonne made herself ready to go to work. She was late tonight, for the 24th of May was her mother's birthday, and there'd been a party. Sometime after 11, she left her house in Bordsley Green. Meanwhile, 2 miles away in Balsall Heath, 2 other girls had found a punter whom they remember well. A rather drunken client, and a blue van that would soon assume a crucial significance.
She's just my friend, that's all. She always comes with me.
I want her out, and I want you in the back.
I don't get in the back of vans.
In the back, I say.
Providing you pay me first.
There you are. Leave your bag here.
I just want a cigarette, all right?
Oh, okay. Hey, you! Bring my money! Please, come back! Bring my money!
Yvonne arrived in Balsall Heath at about 11:40. The police believed the blue van was still cruising round the area. Halfway up Playdepool Road, before getting to her beat, Yvonne stopped briefly here.
I'm aware.
Hello. One of them meat patties.
As far as the shopkeeper can remember, Yvonne appeared to have no more than small change in her purse.
Ta. See ya.
As Yvonne crossed Brighton Road, she was recognised by this local club owner.
Hey, Busher!
She was now heading for her usual beat on the corner of Sandford Road.
You're late coming up tonight.
I've been at my mum's. We're having a party, it's a birthday.
Oh. What time is it anyway?
11:45.
Oh, I'm going home. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Oh, stay on a bit. 5 minutes.
OK, wait till you get your first one, then I'm off. Oh, it's packy, I don't want in.
Oh, I'll do it, me.
I'll see you later. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night. Ta-ra.
Yvonne went with her first client at 11:45. Later evidence, the amount of cash found with her body, suggests she did have other customers in the next half hour. If she did, she might have come here with them, a car park behind Ladypool Road, where the prostitutes earn their money in their clients' cars. But at some stage she must have come here, to the Warstock area about 3 miles away. It was here at 20 minutes past midnight that a couple walking home noticed a similar blue van parked in the entrance to Coxmore's Woods golf course. 8:30 the next morning, the same spot on Warstock Lane. The blue van was gone now, but a few paces from where it had been, a local resident made a gruesome discovery on his morning walk.
Brother Mike 21, attend Warstock Lane to a report of a female body under the hedgerow on the golf course. Brother T Mike 21 received, over.
I knew Yvonne as a friend. They always say, oh no, it won't happen to me. But look at the heartbreak it brings when you're left for dead. Those men, all the prostitutes, if they'd seen anything that night, we'd just like them to come forward, because somebody must have seen something that night. Everybody's not blind. They're not.
Well, before we speak to the man in charge of the inquiry, Detective Superintendent Roy Taylor, let's just recap on the geography of the area. When Yvonne arrived in Balsall Heath, she walked down Ladypool Road. The club owner saw her here as she crossed Brighton Road. Then we saw her meet her friend here on the corner of Sandford Road. That was the last time she was seen alive. It was about 3 miles away on Coxmore Woods golf course that her body was found next morning, just off Warstock Lane. She'd been strangled. Well, Superintendent Taylor, that blue van there seems to be the crucial clue, is it?
It is crucial, yes, because we have 3 sightings of the van that night. One at about 11:30 p.m. in Birchwood Crescent, again in the area of Church Road a short time later, and then, of course, near to where Yvonne's body was found at about 12:20 a.m. on the Friday morning.
So you do need to trace that, if only to eliminate it from your inquiries.
We do most definitely, yes.
The trouble is there are hundreds of blue vans, of course. Can you narrow it down for us?
Yes, it's a dark blue van in the 15, 17 or 22 hundredweight class. No windows in the side, and it is fitted with, we believe, Lee Conquest, this type of tyre, which is a cross-ply with Avon Supervan tyres also.
So that's an interesting combination of tyres on one
Yes,
van.
we've checked many thousands of vans in this inquiry, and as yet we've only turned up 3 with similar combination of tyres. It's almost like a fingerprint.
What about the driver?
Well, we don't know for certain the driver of the van in Warstock Lane, but of course we've got the Asian gentleman that we're looking for, who was involved with the 2 prostitutes earlier in the evening, and he is described as an Asian, 40 years of age, very well built, with a moustache, a Mexican-style moustache, which will particularly distinguish him.
Now, Yvonne was last definitely seen at 11:45 that night, and that blue van, the last sighting of a blue van was at 12:20. Do you think those are the times between which she was murdered?
I think that she was probably murdered a short time after that, and that would be consistent with the sighting of the blue van in Warstock Lane, because When she went out and when she bought the patty, we know that she had no money with her. We know that she had money with her when her body was found, and of course that would indicate that she'd been with a number of clients.
What about a blue Mercedes that somebody said they saw her in?
Yes, we've got an unconfirmed sighting of her in a blue Mercedes in Brighton Road at about 1 a.m. that morning, and we do need particularly to try and find the person who was driving that vehicle, whether he was with a prostitute or with his wife or whoever, if only to lose the sight, to try and eliminate them from the inquiry.
Briefly, how else can the public help?
Well, of course, if we can trace the van with that combination of tyres on it, if we could trace the person that was with Yvonne, anybody that was with Yvonne that night, then I would appeal to them to come forward and contact me.
Superintendent Taylor, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's any way you think you can help in any way, please don't let this happen again. The number to ring, 01811 8055, that's here at Crimewatch, or you can call Edward Road Police Station at Birmingham 440 1155. That's 021 440 1155.